Turning to Ukraine, where authorities today announced the arrests of 12 people suspected of belonging to an organ trafficking ring allegedly headed by an Israeli citizen. Speaking at a press conference in Kiev, an official from the Interior Ministry said that the Israeli was arrested last month on suspicion of devising a scheme to recruit organ donors from the former Soviet Union, including Ukraine, for wealthy foreigners in need of transplants. According to the official, the majority of those who donated organs were impoverished young women who were paid amounts ranging from $10,000 to nothing at all. The surgeries, which cost recipients up to $200,000, were performed in Kiev, Azerbaijan, and Ecuador. All of the suspects have been charged with human trafficking and, if convicted, face up to 15 years behind bars. In a separate but related development, the Health Ministry this week began implementing a new policy of paying financial compensation to live donors of organs for transplants. The policy was originally approved as part of the 2008 organ transplant law in the Knesset. Under the new policy, the ministry will pay up to 30,000 shekels to donors in compensation for lost work days, travel, psychological counseling, and other expenses resulting from their life-saving surgery. There has been harsh criticism of the new policy, though, from several human rights activists who express concern that people in economic need could be exploited to provide transplant organs for the more affluent. And earlier this week, Robbie Berman, the founder and director of the Halachic Organ Donor Society, told IBA's Leah Zinder that he believes the new policy by the Ministry of Health is a step in the right direction.
It's to giving people 30,000 shekels so they don't lose money by actually donating an organ. So if they want to take taxis to and from the hospital, pre-op and post-op, they don't have to pay from their own pocket. But I'm really underwhelmed by the amount of 30,000 shekel. They shouldn't be touting this as a solution to the problem. No one's going to be stepping forward and offering to donate their kidney for 30,000 shekel. We like to slam Iran, but Iran, in 1988, legalized payment for organs. No one in Iran dies of kidney failure because they allow people to buy and sell kidneys through the government, and people get compensated for it.
It should also be said, to the best of my knowledge, in the United States, it's absolutely forbidden to pay.
It's forbidden, but there is a battle waging in America. If you read the newspapers, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, more and more people are writing, and even academics, politicians, philosophers, economists, and now even the medical establishment, there's a growing movement to allow direct payment from the government to people to sell their organs, both after death and also living donation.
But, Robbie, isn't there a real danger that people who are in economic need will, in fact, sell their organs?
Yes, there is. Well, first of all, someone who's in economic need is in economic need for and needs to be addressed. You can't say we won't let you sell your organ and we won't give you money for food or a roof over your head or chemotherapy if you're a kid who has cancer. There is a slippery slope argument to be made. I understand that. I appreciate it. But just because it's a slippery slope argument doesn't mean that you shouldn't go ahead and try to implement procedures that will prevent that from happening. You can allow people to step forward and say, look, we don't want to exploit poor people, so we'll give you $50,000, but first of all, there's a 2-year cooling off period. You have to think about this for 2 years. We'll give you the $50,000 spread out over 10 years. There's ways to get around it to make sure people aren't exploited and they're not running into things. Look at me. I'm not a poor person. I'm middle class. I have a price. I haven't sold my kidney. It's illegal, but if it was legal, I would be willing to sell my kidney for a certain price. It's not every person. Nick Rosen from Tel Aviv sold his kidney. It was on CNN. He sold his kidney to a person in New York for $25,000. He had a job. He knew the risks. He said he wanted to save her life, and he wanted to get compensated for the scar on his back and for the month he was out of work, and he wanted to get money for it. And I don't see anything wrong with getting money. Firemen get money to run into buildings and risk their lives. And no one says, oh, the fireman didn't have pure motives. He's doing a terrible thing.
It also must be said, of course, that there are 600 people in Israel waiting for organ transplants. Is that correct?
Close to 1,000 people. 600 are waiting for kidneys. And I'm rounding this up. Right. And every year in Israel, about 100 people die waiting for organs. Every year in America, 7,000 Americans die waiting for organs. We have not solved this problem. We've been trying. I started the Halachic Organ Donor Society about 10 years ago, and I've gotten over 200 rabbis to come out and say organ donation is permitted by Jewish law. We have an obligation to help save lives. And although we've had a positive impact, we have not solved the problem. And when, God forbid, someone in your family or my family needs a kidney, then and they're dying. You know, people who are on dialysis, they die within about 7 years because of an infection, give or take. Some people longer, some people shorter. But by and large, it's 7 years. We have not solved the problem, and giving financial incentives is one step in the right direction in helping save people's lives. And that's what it's all about.
And in fact, and this must be our last question, I do understand that more and more ultra-Orthodox people are now agreeing to donate organs. Is that correct?
Yes, there's more and more rabbinic support coming out, more and more Haredi, ultra-Orthodox rabbis coming out and saying we should save lives, donating organs from Jews to the general population, including Arabs, Muslims, Christians, whoever, because saving a life is of utmost paramount importance in Jewish law.
Robbie Berman, thank you so much.